What's up, everybody? Sorry about the delay. I had construction people here working on some sewer lines, so I was just going out there to make sure they didn't hit our Comcast cable that they just fixed. I was able to locate it, and I just have to go bury part of it again. I do have some updates. My goal is to get the Easy Neo strips on the website this weekend. If you have an Easy board, we do have the adapter PCBs in now, and I'll show you what these look like. So if you have an Easy board V1 and you want to get some NeoPixel action, we will have these on the site in about a week. We're waiting on the wire to connect from here to the fan header, so I'll show you guys what this looks like. If you have an EasyBoard V1, we have a little add-on module here that will give you a NeoPixel header. This has its own dedicated 5 volt power supply built into it, and there will be a little jumper cable that goes from either one of these two headers here. You can see these are labeled fan IO. So we're actually grabbing the 12 to 24 volts from the fan header. So there'll be a little cable that'll go from here to there, and then you plug your fan into here. So you can plug it into either fan 1 or 2, and then you just move that fan over to the other free socket. So I'll have a video showing how to do that. These are the boards, so you can see these just unplug from here. There's actually a little stand on the PCB to keep it from tilting. So you just plug it onto the little header to the left of the LCD. And boom, you have NeoPixel support. And you plug the NeoPixel into the board there. And then this goes to the other end. So we're just waiting on the actual power connector that will go, or the power cable that will go from here to the fan header. We had an initial batch made, but they had to remake them because they screwed up the polarity on one end. So we caught that before it would go out to everybody. But we do have those. The only drawback is if you're using like a PT100, since this is the only expansion header on our board. You basically will only be able to use either the NeoPixel header or your PT100. PT100s are very niche, so. But I just wanted to mention that we'll have all those details laid out on the page. Like, hey, if you're using this, you can't use it with this. And the other thing that would hook up to this header if you're using it is if you're using a touchscreen, because there are 2 I/O pins on here. We're tying into those for the NeoPixels. So, yeah. Anyways, that's where we're at on those. And then for those of you guys that have other boards that don't have an add-on board like this, or they don't natively support NeoPixels, we do have these tiny little, I picked these up. These are 5 volt, 1.5 amp power adapters. They're going to work great for the Easy Neos. You put your 12 to 24 volts in on one end, and you get 5 volts on the other end. There's no adjusting this. There's no having to deal with potentiometers. You just put 12 to 24 in, you get 5 out, and there'll be a video on how to wire this up to the actual cable that comes with the Easy Neos. So we're well on our way, just getting all the documentation posted and written. I just want to make sure everything is covered. And I think we've got all the bases covered here. So we got a universal 5 volt step down that we'll have on the site for those. If you have an EasyBoard V1, you can go with the plug-on board, which will be available about a week and a half to 2 weeks, is what I'm told. We're just waiting on, like I said, the little cables to go from the power input to the fan header on the board. And there'll be a video to go along with how to actually wire that up. It's really simple. So, anyways, I think that's about it. I found some acrylic paints in my stash of stuff, and I very carefully painted in the letters here, and I put a layer of this frosted glass clear coat. I had this laying around, and it actually came out really well. I cleaned down the surface and lightly scuffed it, the veneer that was on here, and then coated it. And I don't have anything on here because I'm letting it cure, but it's dry to the touch now. But it does look really nice. It really pops. You guys could see it on the overhead camera. But I'm very impressed with that little laser. The quality of the lines and the sharpness of them. I was really impressed with how well they have the whole system, and you just literally set it 2 millimeters higher than whatever you're going to engrave on, and they give you that little puck, and it just works. So, anyways, I think that's it. I think we can jump into the questions here. I need to pop chat out so I can actually see what's going on here. Let's see. Yeah, I do have, I'll actually screen share real quick so you guys can see the table up close, because I don't have my camera on that's on there right now. Hang on. Camera, I definitely have it on my camera uploads. Let's see. Main monitor. There we go. So that's a close-up of it. And there's just a couple other photos here. So it came out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. So you can see the finish isn't completely uniform, but it's my work table. It's gonna get scratched up. I don't care. So, but the blue painting has got a couple coats of clear coat on it, so should be nice and durable. All right, let's jump into the questions and see what we got going on here. Speaking of questions, I have a question for you guys. If you're in the Cult of TH3D Discord channel, we posted, I actually had Joe post asking what colors you guys would like to see us add to the lineup. So if you're a Cult of TH3D member, go ahead and post in there and look at the list of options that he gave and let us know which ones you'd like to see in the shop, because we're going to start adding on colors here and there until eventually we have their full lineup. So let's see here. Let's see what questions we have from you guys. There's no questions in the chatter. Nemo Griff, I guess this is the actual question. Now that the table's branded, are you going to replace it now? You aren't going to replace it now, right? No, I'm probably not going to replace it. I think I'm going to put some angle brackets on the legs to make it less weebly wobbly, because this actually folds up. I just never fold it up. So, but let's see here. Dimitri, what component is in the cable? Oh, and this guy here, this is just a little compact step down, and these were some I was able to source that have wires already on them. These connectors that are on the end, we're just going to basically leave them on here so you guys know which is input and output. Basically the red one is, and then the video is going to show snipping these off, and then we'll twist them together and solder them all up, and then boom, power for the Easy Neos. No matter what board you have, whether you have, you know, an Easy Board V1 and you don't want to wait for this, or the, you know, Creality 422 boards that don't have an onboard 5-volt regulator that can handle the current for them. The max draw, and we're talking full blast on white because white color takes up the most power. We're seeing a draw of anywhere from 0.85 to a max of 1 amp on the strip. So like on our Easy Board V1, we have that 5-volt rail fused at half an amp, even though the regulator is actually a 3 amp regulator. We have it fused at half an amp just to prevent users from damaging things. So that's why we have to have this add-on board here to give it a dedicated 5-volt power supply so we don't overdraw and trip that fuse. So let's see here. Vincent's asking, when would it be necessary to use an external Mosfet for the hot end? I would say if you're using a heater on the hot end that exceeds 100 watts, maybe. You know, if you're using our Easy Board Lite, you can push quite a bit through there. The terminals are rated up to a max of 12 amps. The only thing you got to watch out for is we're only fused, so the whole board itself is fused at 12. But if you're offloading your bed, you can actually pull quite a bit of amperage through the hot end MOSFET on our Easy Board. We have the MOSFETs on there over spec'd, so they run cooler and last longer, but the terminals themselves are only rated at 12 amps draw. So let's see here. Oh, there we go. Chat jumped. I was waiting for it. I'm always waiting for it. Let's see here. Rhinox says, I did a recent build of Unified 2 and the Z offset wizard refuses to show up on my Ender 3 with the Easy Board. That's because we disabled it by default. The Z offset wizard was very confusing and buggy, so you have to manually turn it on when you compile the firmware for any of our Unified 2 stuff. Yeah, the Z offset wizard is a good idea, but in implementation, it leaves a lot to be desired. So we have it disabled by default because it was creating a ton of support tickets, and it's just easier to set the offset with the directions on our help center. So we have in our help center, there's Easy ABL offset videos. There's multiple ones linked there that you can look at for your initial offset and then adjusting your offset further on a print. How long did the laser etching end up taking? It took about 2 hours and 45 minutes is what Lightburn said. So I definitely probably could have run it faster, but I didn't want to stop it and then restart it. So I just let it ride. Let's see. Skate the Nation says he's getting rough top layers. Looks like shark skin, almost. I'm not sure. I'd have to see a picture of that. He also says he's got the easy ABL and the solid bed mounts, but your top layers, that's going to be something related to either how you're starting your first layer or your slicer settings. The ABL is not going to change that. Let me pull up the Livestream channel, make sure I have that up. I do. Let's see. Dimitri K, that's hand. So this burned away about 0.2 millimeters of the layer. So I basically just used it to fill in. And yeah, I took a little brush and painted it with acrylic paint. So let's see. Steve Cruz asking if we sell the Easy Pie cases by themselves. We used to, until we got people that bought cases and were taking hours of time on trying to tell them how to put 4 screws into a case and some thermal pads. So we opted not to sell them separately anymore because we did not want to deal with people who couldn't figure out basic things. So no, we do not sell them. We do not sell them separately. We don't want to be dealing with people yelling at us because they somehow screwed up a simple thing. Yeah. Let's see. ETA on the EasyBoard V2, we're shooting for mid-August. We are finalizing the retail board, and we're getting a batch of those made for testing. And if testing goes as well on the retail revision, then we will be running them. So, Matt Mudib is asking, do the Easy Neos have a 3-pin JST connector? Yes, they do. So they come with this cable. This is the exact cable here. This is a 3-conductor, 3-pin JST XH. So one end goes onto the strip itself, and the other end goes onto your control board or whatever you're wiring it up to. So in a universal application, you end up cutting one of these off, and then you'll attach so the white is your signal, and then you got your red and your black, so 5-volt plus, and then your negative. So these would go to your step down, and then this will go to your IO pin. So I will be putting together a video on, a universal installation. Like, here's what you do, here's what you need to connect. And if you look at our help center, we've already started, well, I'm the one doing it, but I've already started putting up documentation on connecting those, and there will be a video to go along with these little guys too. Let's see here. John Miss said he upgraded Sunlight S8 with all the performance upgrades minus easy ABL. What else do I have to take into consideration when upgrading? Well, don't upgrade just for the sake of upgrading. My opinion is that the only thing that printer really sucked at when it was out of the box was the lack of good layer fan cooling. So printing a new hot end mount that has a better ducting system is a must for that one. Like, the stock cooling is not like Creality's where like it's passable, it's okay. It was really, really bad. But ask yourself before you go out and spending money on upgrades, ask yourself what problem are you trying to fix, and then work from there to figure out what products that are on the market to fix your issue. And if you're trying to get around a certain problem, our live chat guys and our contact us form, we do pre-sale stuff. So if you're really not sure, you're like, I'm trying to fix this issue, send them a message and they can kind of get you on the right path, and hopefully it's something we carry. If not, we'll always point you in the right direction of other places to check out. So let's see here. John Sanderson's asking if I have any opinions on Super Slicer. I do not. And he said, or what's your current slicer? I'm still using Simplify 3D. It works. I haven't had time to mess with or switch over to other stuff. So, Why choose a diode laser over a CO2? The only time I would choose a diode laser over a CO2 is if I'm just engraving stuff and I don't want to deal with all the other hassle that comes with CO2. Because there's an argument for either one. The CO2s are more powerful by all means. The problem is they're also water cooled, so there's a lot more components that go into running that machine. There's also mirrors that need to be aligned. There's a lot more stuff to mess with on a CO2 laser. I have both. And you can engrave with a CO2 laser, but I'm going to tell you right now that I have that diode laser, that atom stack, if I need to engrave something, I'm going to be using the atom stack just because I can literally take it out, plug it in, set it onto the object, set my height, and go. You know, I wouldn't, those two different types of lasers are in completely different classes. So it really depends on what you're looking to do. Because, I mean, like a CO2 laser, though, you can start getting into, you know, thicker stock, thicker kinds of wood to cut through, thicker types of acrylic, where the diode lasers are just going to fall short because they're not powerful enough. So, Subconductor is struggling with T-nuts. He's asking any way to get them to rotate and snap into position. I found the easiest way is to spin, make sure that they have enough buffer zone, you know, like as you tighten the screw, the nut's going to get closer to the screw head. Make sure you have enough distance between it and then spin it fast. That's the best way. T-nuts I have a love-hate relationship with because they're convenient, but they're also kind of a pain if they don't snap into position. Once you've been working with them for a couple of years, it just becomes second nature. So let's see. Subconductor's asking, I'd love to get into CNC. Any plans with videos, offer parts, etc.? Not so sure about CNC. I haven't really gotten into that. My buddy Joe over at Project R3D, he is into the CNC stuff. So I would ping him. He's in our Discord server. He's I think it's PR3D Joe. Yeah, PR3D Joe. So, but yeah, he messes with the CNC stuff. I just don't have enough time with everything going on right now to add too much more technology to my tool stack as much as I would love a CNC machine. I've got a lot of stuff that keeps me busy these days. Glazed Pineapple, who I see you joined the TH3D squad on here. Thank you for becoming a member. You said he's having issues with printing the Flexi Octopus. The first few layers seem to go fine, but after 20 minutes, some of the joints will dislodge from the bed. So my fix, if I have stuff dislodging from any build surface, is this stuff. Maybe you have it, maybe you don't. This stuff sticks everything down. We sell this in our shop. This is a product that we use for like a year and a half before we started carrying it, and we started carrying it because we liked it so much. This stuff works great. In lieu of stuff like that, you can also try adding a brim to the part, which could be a pain in the ass when you're using TPU. I'm assuming, oh no, yeah, sorry. I inferred TPU because you said Flexi Octopus, and I think you're talking about, I have one. He's sitting back there. So you're probably not printing that flexible. But still, if you had a brim around it, it's going to get in the way of all the parts. The best thing to do would be make sure you have your bed temp set to the correct temperature for the material printing. So PLA, that's going to be around 60 C. PETG is going to be around 80 C. And if you're doing ABS, it should be 100 C, and you should have an enclosure. If you don't have an enclosure and you're printing ABS, that could be your entire problem. But most people are printing PLA or PETG. So, yeah. The thing is, you want, and I don't know what surface you're printing on, but in general, if you're having adhesion issues, the slower you run the first layer and the hotter you run your first layer, the more adhesion you should get between the plastic and the surface you're printing on. So you can also try slowing it down your print speed, bumping your print temp up just for the first layer by about 10 degrees Celsius, so it's a little more molten and gooey as it gets pushed out onto your printer bed. So there's a lot of different things you can play with. Like, in all seriousness, this stuff, I throw it on my beds. It's like insurance for my prints. I don't have to worry about them coming off. And you'll get anywhere from 10 to 15 prints, you know, from my experience with this stuff. It's really good stuff. we have small bottles and the larger bottles, and I'm not gonna lie, the larger bottles, they're like $50. It seems expensive, but like this, I just got a new bottle about a month ago. I get about 6 to 7 months with all these machines in here out of one bottle, so a little goes a long way as well. Let's see, we got 2 new members. Matt Claire's in the caffeine fund, so that will go towards my maw habit. And then Rhino CS just joined the Cult of TH3D. Make sure if you guys are on Discord that you connect your Discord account with your YouTube, because we have a VIP section in our Discord server, and if you're a Cult of TH3D member, you get access to that section. So, and that's typically where I hang out. I don't hang out in many of the common areas, but I do hang out in the VIP section. It's just less chaotic there. Let's see. Derek C bought a cheap Delta printer at a yard sale. Oh, for fun and to learn Deltas. Oh, your idea of fun is about to be more well defined. I've had Deltas before. I don't own any Deltas right now. What's good lube for linear rails? That's a good question. Typically, I want to say white lithium grease is what people usually pack those with, but I'm sure there's better lubricants out there. I actually don't have too many machines here with linear rails, but I think Joe is still here from Project R3D, and his Daedalus, they use linear rails on their machine. I'm going to ask him what he uses to lubricate those. But I have like my favorite go-to lubricant in general for 3D printing is the 3-in-1 brand PTFE lube. Actually, it's right here on my desk. The one time I'm actually talking about stuff and it's actually on my desk, like sometimes it's halfway across the room. This is my favorite lubricant in general. If I need to lubricate something like lead screws, or sometimes if I have like rollers, like V-slot wheels that are hanging up, I usually add a couple drops and let it kind of penetrate in and see if that helps it. This is probably my favorite lubricant on the market right now, and it's cheap, it's convenient, you can find it at most hardware stores. So, but the 3-in-1 oil also is good, but I like their PTFE lubricant one. It's very slick and it lasts a long time. It is a little runny though, so don't go crazy, but like I like the form factor that this is in, like these little, like you twist the cap up, it's manageable and easy to apply. So but I think Joe's busy, so he's ignoring me. But yeah, so let's see. John Miss says, oh, I think he had another question. So, okay, he's got the S8. I was going to say, oh, that name sounds familiar. He said he put in the new hot end shroud that we recommended in the 5015 fans. Change out the extruder, the PTFE tube, and upgrade the nozzle. Sounds like you're on your way. I mean, until you have issues with it, I would just run it like that because that's a pretty good setup out of the box. My S8 that we did the video on, I ended up putting our Easy Flex on there and our Easy ABL, and then I ended up selling to my brother Doug, who loves the damn thing. He runs a little Etsy shop, and he's been using that thing to crank out orders. So, let's see here. Justin found he had a hot end issue, had a broken wire that kept causing temperature fluctuations. Yep, that'll do it. Let's see. Hang on. My chat jumped again. That's the second time. I'm scrolling up. Superconductor uses white lithium grease on his. He cleans the rails out first with isopropyl alcohol and then had the thick he cleaned out the rails first with isopropyl alcohol because his had a thick, sticky grease on them. Yeah. Let's see. 3D Printing Kid says he's got an Ender 3 Pro. Do I install the Easy ABL Pro sensor kit before updating the firmware, or do I update the firmware first, then install the sensor? I I would install the sensor and then upgrade the firmware. That's the way that we say to do it. Don't try to home until you update the firmware. So you could update it before, but our directions, if you follow it in order, it would be install the sensor, then update the firmware. But know that once you put the sensor on and connect your Z end stop wire to it, you have to update the firmware so it can actually talk to the sensor correctly and understand its logic, because it's inverse from the Z end stop switch. Zolan, oh, you got Vision Miner. He said, amazing. He's a few drops on the backside of a flex sheet to print TPU and holds great. Yeah, this, I shit you not, if you don't want to worry about PETG or other materials that like to bond to surfaces, like our flex plates that we sell, the backside is blank. You can literally throw this onto the blank steel and print on it. That's how well it works. I have done that before. When I don't feel like potentially having PETG bond to my PEI, I'll flip it over, throw that on the back, and it holds it down. It's impressive stuff. So, Henry is asking, is Easy able to work on a glass bed like the one with the Ender 3 V2? Absolutely. Our sensor actually detects the bed, or actually detects the glass bed. It will not read through and detect the metal. It's actually going to detect the top surface of the bed itself. So, let's see here. Vision Miner's good. Armil says Vision Miner is good, but it's damn hard to get the coating off after. I just take a damp rag with just water on it and wipe it off, and usually a microfiber will take it off really good. But alcohol too also will clean it off, because it is an alcohol-based product. So, but you might also be putting on too much. You don't need a lot. Let's see. Sanderson, what's the fastest millimeter second you've printed reliably at? Well, it depends on the machine. Like the Daedalus here, I can easily get 120 out of. My Ender 3, 80 to 100, but you know, you're really sacrificing some quality just because of physics. But typically I run most of my print jobs at 60 to 80. My Ender 6 is over here printing right now at 60. So when you've got a ton of machines, sometimes it doesn't matter if print jobs take a little longer and things get a nicer finish. There's less ringing. So, let's see. I'm scrolling back up because it jumped for the third time. Wait, did I already answer this guy's question? Oh, yeah, the Delta. I figured you, Derek with the Delta from the garage. I figured you would laugh at me. I'm laughing at myself as well. It'll be a project. They're cool. I like how Deltas look while they're printing. But my thing with Deltas is they're very tall. So using racking like this is not effective because you don't get many shelves. And the physical footprint of them takes up about the same amount of space as a Cartesian or Core XY machine. And the build volume is a lot smaller because it's a round bed. That's why I'm not a big fan. So, Jim is asking about any advice on setting for Core XY firmware to pay attention to or include that are not a basic setting new to the firmware side. So if you're using Marlin, the main difference is you're just going to have a Core XY define uncommented, and that's it. Just do your standard checks, then move your X, move your Y, and see if they're inverted. If you tell it to move X and it moves Y, then you actually need to define it as a Core YX and not an XY, and that'll flip it around. And then if you do that, and let's say your X moves left when you tell it to go right, then you invert your X motor direction. You just play with the settings. You got to just run through some tests. So whenever I'm building, if I have a custom machine that I built, or I completely overhauled something, I changed all electronics, and basically I, just reused a printer's frame and motors and, the bed. When I upload firmware to it, I will put all my axes, my Z, my X, and my Y in their middle positions, and then tell it to move 10 millimeters. I'll even take, to make sure my steps per millimeter are correct, I'll even take my calipers, push this out, and then have it move 10 millimeters so it pushes this in, and make sure that this changes by 10 millimeters to make sure that that setting is correct. So Whenever you're doing a machine, just run through and test all the settings. Make sure everything runs the correct direction, and make sure you have all your motors plugged into the right locations as well. You know, on a Core XY, you may connect what you think is X to X and Y to Y, when in reality, you actually need to flip them. So you can either flip it in the firmware by telling it's a Core YX instead of an XY, or just change the X and Y plugs on your board. So... E-King is asking, who's our main clientele for prints? We do businesses and individuals. So, and our print farm is up and running again. So, if you guys need stuff printed, let us know. Let's see. Sanderson's asking, what is the name of the bed glue stuff? Right here. We sell this on our site. You can also get it directly from them, but we also carry it in our shop. It's called Vision Miner Nanopolymer. Let's see. I'm just reading the chat here. Am I at the end of the chat? I'm already at the end of the chat. You guys are not very chatty today. That's disappointing. It's very disappointing. We do have the sample sizes, Zolan. We have, I'll just post the link in the chat. Since you guys are quiet, you guys need to post more questions. We're only like 40 minutes in and we're already caught up with the questions. What the hell? And there we go. We call those the fun size. So the smaller ones are the fun size. Matt, Clara, where? Oh, there we go. Matt says, I need to print lightweight, strong parts. I'm thinking of nylon, carbon fiber. What is the choice of printer and parts? So here's the thing. It's a very common misconception that people think that if you buy filament that says it's carbon fiber, that it's going to be stronger. And that actually is the opposite, because the filament is not 100% the plastic. The carbon fiber is just kind of a filler, and it actually can make your part weaker. So unless you're printing with something like, I think it's called the not Mark Forged. Someone's going to say it in chat, but there's a printer that prints with standard filament, but it also inserts a continuous strand of carbon fiber thread into the parts. Now, stuff like that does actually make it stronger, but when you're using stuff that's got a fill in it, it's actually not going to make it stronger, and it might even make it weaker in most cases. So I had that same thinking when I was, printing stuff for my drone. I was like, oh, I'm going to get carbon fiber filament. Well, it ends up being very brittle, because you're not dealing with all plastic, you're dealing with fill, and that fill is not going to bond with the plastic as well as plastic will bond with itself. So it really depends on what you're wanting to print too. You're saying lightweight, strong parts. What are you printing it? What's the application? Is it a drone? Is it, like an RC car? Are you printing parts that are going to go on an airplane? Because that determines what kind of material you're going to print. You know what I mean? There's different material properties, and it really goes along with the application that you're going to use. So, Julio Reyes, I did miss your question. If I missed your guys' question, you guys already answered one. Just pop a thing in there and I'll do a Control F because it looks to be searching. So I found your question. Julio is asking, is it possible to swap out trigger limit switches to proximity sensors and not have to mess with the firmware? Homing on some printers sounds like it's crashing into the rails. So one thing, if it's a noise thing, you can slow down how fast you're homing into your X and Y. In Marlin, I'm pulling up source code right now because I can't remember the variable name off the top of my head, but I will have it in just a sec here. And in Marlin 2.0, that will be the homing feed rate mm_m, and the values you have are in an array. If you're using an older version of Marlin firmware, it's going to be separate values, but so homing feed rate that first one, I just posted the actual line, the defined line in chat. So you got 50 times 60, 50 times 60, 4 times 60. So that 50 times 60 is your X feed rate, so that's 50 millimeters a second. And then your second one is Y, which is also 50 millimeters a second. So if you want to slow those down, you can try changing that 50 to a 30 on both those, and that will make it home slower into the end stops. But to answer your question about if you can change them out to like I've seen those little conductive or little inductive sensors, like what the Sidewinder X1 uses. If you get a sensor that has the same logic as the end stop you're replacing, then you will not need to mess with the firmware. So if you have a normally open end stop switch and you're replacing it with a normally open proximity sensor, then there should be no firmware changes. You will usually have to provide power to the proximity sensor, and usually those small ones are usually 5 volts, so you'll just have to run an extra line for the 5 volt because you typically will already have the ground and the signal line going to an end stop switch. Most end stop switches will just ground out the signal line, and then that signal line will go low and the chip knows that the switch was pressed. Now, if you have the opposite, if you have normally closed switch, you have two different types of logic with a switch, normally opened and normally closed. So what that means is if the switch is not pressed, a normally open one will be an open contact. If a normally closed one, if it's not pressed, the two contacts will be closed. So on a normally open switch, when you press it, it will close the contacts. On a normally closed switch, if you press it, it will open the contacts. So you need to make sure you're matching the logic of the end stop switches with the proximity sensor you're getting. And if you're not sure, I thought I had an end stop switch here. Aha, I do. So I have a Creality sensor or end stop switch here. Let me just make sure I'm in. Nope, not in continuity mode. Okay, can you guys hear the beep here? I'm gonna have to turn off my mic sensors. Or mic filters, hang on. Noise gate, we're gonna turn that off. I don't know if you guys can hear the beeping. Can you guys hear the beeping? So anyways, I have a Creality end stop switch here and just a little pigtail here, so I'm going to plug this in. And it looks like my yellow and my black are the two pins I need to go on. So I believe Creality uses normally closed. We're about to find out. Or they're normally open. I cannot remember. Okay, so if you look, when I press the switch here, oh, my wire came off. So theirs look to be normally open. So you can see here it's not beeping. I press the switch. It's not getting a solid reading because these are just twisted around the post, but you get the idea. So that's how you can determine what logic yours is, by putting it across the two signal pins and then use a multimeter and see if it's open or closed when it's pressed or not. So this would be a normally open switch because these contacts are open when it's not being pressed. So if I touched the probe leads to those wires and it immediately started beeping, then that would mean that it's a normally closed switch. So let's see. Going back to the bottom here. Do, 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 do. I turned my mic filters back on, so things should be pretty good. Sanderson's getting jamming at 170C with PLA and the Dragon Hot end. 170C is way too low. I would do 200. So let's see. I'm just catching up. So you guys were chatting while I was grabbing my stuff to show you how switches work. Madari's asking about the Ender 3.2. Is it any good? I want to print a 3D character. If you're talking about miniatures, you can do it with FDM, but it's way better to do miniatures with like resin. But I think Ender 3 V2 is a decent machine. So, all right, I'm scrolling back up here. We were talking about homing feed rate. What the hell is that noise outside? Hang on. Just gotta check my cameras. Oh, it's just everybody leaving. Okay. All right. Matt Carla, he was talking about the carbon fiber fill. He said he's doing high-temp RC planes called pattern planes, F3A. Never heard of them. But if you're going for light, maybe like, but also durable, maybe like a polycarbonate blend would be good. I feel like we have some guys that fly RC planes in here. So let me see. Have I checked out the guts of a laser? I have not. I finished off the table here and we will be using it again, but I am going to, I guess I could dismount it now, although I don't have a clean surface to take it apart on, and I don't want to put anything on this until tomorrow because it said 24 hours to cure. So I probably shouldn't have coated that if I wanted to use the table, and I don't have another table in here. I really do want to open that box up, though. It's going to have to wait till tomorrow. Damn me and wanting to finish the table. I wasn't thinking. It really sucks because I don't have my stream deck here. My desk is packed right now because all the stuff that's normally on there is all over here. Towel on the table. Hang on, let me see if I can free up some stuff over here. These little boards. Let me go retrieve the box from the laser. And voila, we has control box. Dog, you're gonna need to move, 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 go, 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 scoot. All right. Let's see. Is this camera going to work for me on the first try? Hey! All right. Oh, look at that. They got their own little board in here. That is interesting. Let's take a closer look. I see that we might have end stop switch ports. I'm curious to know what processor they used on this. I think it's going to be like a 328 Atmel. That's usually what most of the CNCs use, but maybe it's something a little beefier. Ah, called it. It's a 328. Little Atmel 328. Look at the little processor just hiding there. It's so cute. But we got some extra ports here. So we've got, it's got 2 Y ports. It's got a Z port, so you can add on another driver. There's a motor connection. Laser 5-volt out, 12-volt out. So I'm assuming this is G&S. So I'm assuming this is the laser control, and this is 12-volt output for the laser. It's weird they didn't use the laser header, but they have some end stop ports here. So there's X. Yeah, X, Y, and Z, and then it's got an extra I/O pin here, and then a probe port, and they got a little CH340 on here. It's an interesting little board. So I would be willing to bet that you could easily flash this with a new version of Gerbil, or hell, I think Marlin even supports 328s for lasers. I could be wrong, but I feel like they supported the 328s. But the color scheme of everything is very MKS-esque. So I'm wondering if MKS did the OEM for this. And you see this aux1 port here. I'm willing to bet you could put a like a touch screen or some type of screen on this. So there is definitely some expansion. And you can see here, there's the ICSP header for the in-circuit programming. So if it doesn't have a bootloader, you could burn one. There's the ground reset, MOSI, the SCK, MISO, and VCC for the CPU. And I'm willing to bet these are 4988s. They sounded like them. They weren't too loud, but I think they are. I don't know if I can easily get the... Yeah, these are epoxied on here. I don't think they're Trinamics, but I'm not about to sacrifice it. It does work. I'm going to leave it for a little bit. But board looks like it's decent quality. I'd put money on it just because like the layout, the font, and how everything's like labeled, and just the general fit and finish of it and feel. I'd be willing to bet MKS probably made this board for them, and then they just branded it. So not bad. No tin wires to worry about because everything's connectors and barrel jacks. So, but you know, you're not pushing a ton of current to that laser. You know, it's only a 5-watt diode. So, let's see. Oh wow, that ate up a lot of time. Let me see if there's any other questions here. Vickers asks, Vickers, I don't understand your question. He said, I'm getting a triangular purge on my Ender 5 Plus. Any ideas? I don't know what that means. Let's see. Have I tried PLA with a dragon or mosquito type hotend? I have not. I have no need for a mosquito. They're very expensive. If you need something that goes that high of temperature, then they're great, but I have no need for them, so I have not purchased one. I did buy, you guys ready to like fall out of your chairs? I bought something to try out. I did not get this for review. I paid $100 for this. I'm going to be playing with this and seeing how it performs. Because I was talking to a Big Tree Tech rep. He's trying to sell me on the reselling these. I was like, you know what? I've seen a lot of hit and miss about these. I'm going to buy one from a regular retail channel and see how the quality is first. Because I do think they're a neat idea, but this is made by Big Tree Tech. We all know how Big Tree Tech is with quality. So I want to see. Because they intrigue me. So do any of you guys have this extruder here? You can see it's sealed in the box. I purchased this from their Amazon store. You can see here, still sealed. I'm just curious about it to see if it is actually decent or not, or if they fixed the issues that like Teaching Tech had with them. So, let's see. If there's any other quick questions before I jump off. There it goes. Chat jumped. John Santiago selected a VoxLab Aquila for his printer that he won, and he got a knockoff processor. I'm assuming they're just shipping a knockoff processor. Pimp out the laser, ABL and end stops. I am thinking about putting end stops on it. I'm not even going to lie. I've got a bunch of end stop switches. I was thinking about putting end stops, and we have end stop plugs on this board. So if I decide to pimp out the laser, I will post videos. So, but for right now, I'm keeping it stock. It works. Even if I have to manually bring it to its origin position, it works. I'm not going to try to break it. So, John Santiago is asking, do you recall which video it was you described on how to adjust the voltage? The word you're looking for is VREF, V-R-E-F, and there's a video on this YouTube channel. So I'm sure if you just search TH3D space VREF on YouTube, it will come up. It's an older video, but it's still relevant. Just be very careful when you adjust VREF on those boards, because you could, one screwdriver slip and you have a crispy board. Oh, Scott chimed in. Minimal build of Marlin won't fit within 32K of flash. Okay, so no Marlin, just Gerbil on that board. That's good to know. Yeah, I did know a Swallow Pad's asking. He said they have a rotary attachment for this laser. They do. So I'm assuming you would get the rotary and then plug a third driver in. Or maybe they'll just have you disconnect the plug from the X or the Y, probably the Y. And then that would take the place of the Y motor. I've not messed with a rotary and a laser. I'd imagine you still only need 2 motors for a rotary, because if you're turning the object, it's just got to go back and forth. So I'm assuming Y would become rotary and X would stay X. So Derek, will the Atom Stack cut 3mm acrylic or just etch? I think they said it will. I have not tried acrylic yet, but I would like to. I have acrylic here. I know my 40-watt CO2 will do it. It does it real quick. But I want to say the diode lasers can do, let's see, A50 Pro. Because I thought they had a list of what their stuff will and will not cut through. I was perusing their site to see what other stuff they have, because they also have a 10-watt laser attachment. It's quite expensive, but I'm going to use this as it is right now. I'm trying to see if they had... There was somewhere I was looking that had a list of like what it would cut and what it would just engrave. Yeah, it's on here. So 85 Laser Pro. It says black acrylic. The thickness, they're saying 2.8 for black acrylic. I'm not sure if the diode lasers will actually cut through regular acrylic, because the black's going to absorb the energy. So I'll have to play with that. Do. All right, well, that just jumped. Kenneth is chiming in about the BQH2 has QA issues from all the YouTubers. Yeah, that's my apprehension. I've said this about Big Tree Tech stuff before, and I've even told this to them and their engineers. I think they have good ideas. I think the problem is they then take those good ideas and cost cut too much, and you end up with a good idea, but poor execution, aka a product that's crap. So we'll see. I bought this from their Amazon seller, so there's no like them selecting one and sending me one that definitely works. So, but let's see if there's any other quick questions I can answer before I get going. I have some documentation to do for all the Easy Neo strips because I want to get those moving. For those of you guys with an Easy Board V1, like I said, we have these boards for the Easy Neos for a plug-and-play installation. Would you guys be interested in us just opening up a back order so that way once we get the cable that we're waiting on, we ship them out? I don't typically like doing back orders, but I feel like in this case it might make sense because we should have the cables in about a week and a half to 2 weeks. So just if you'd be interested, let me know. Maybe I'll put a big disclaimer up there. So anyways, let's see. William said he found 2 minor issues with Unify. Where do I put those issues in? Well, we disabled the issue queue on GitHub because people were using it for technical support because they don't understand what an actual issue is. So if you're going to submit an issue, make sure it's actually an issue and not, you know, a user error. But you can send them into our support, and you can also post them in. Well, don't double post, but you can either put them into the beta testing section of our Discord server that's only available in the VIPs. If you're not a VIP, just send us a message and my team will make sure it comes across my desk so I can look into it. So, and if you guys are going to submit, you know, bug reports for our firmware, make sure you put steps to reproduce it. Don't just be like, this is broken, it doesn't work. Like, give me something to go on, because otherwise I'm not even going to look into it, because we have a lot of people that are like, my BL Touch doesn't work, your firmware's broken. I can't troubleshoot based off of that. You know, put some effort into it so I can easily replicate the problem. Let's see. But I'm going to see if there's any other quick questions, and then we're going to wrap this up. And I owe Remo a treat from the last stream because we were engraving, and I didn't want him in the room. Let's see here. Any tips on the Ender 3 V2 laser? I don't do lasers on 3D printers. If you want a laser cutter, buy a laser cutter. Or a laser engraver, buy a laser engraver. Let's see. All right. I'm scrolling, and I think we're about ready for. I think I'm ready. They're ready for the treats. What do you think, Remo? He is passed out. There's a couple more lines here. I think that's it. All right. Yeah, William, those do sound like stuff that needs to be tuned, so submit those. All right. I'm going to put back the, well, you guys can't see it. I'm going to put the Atom Stacks board back together and bolt it back up. I'm not going to modify it just yet. So, but I will. You know, I can't leave well enough alone. I think I'm going to add some end stops to it. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. We moved these to Wednesdays and Fridays now at 5 p.m. Central. If you guys want to get an email reminder for when we're going live or we post new content, you can go to our website, scroll all the way to the bottom of the page, and click the YouTube notifications sign up. I'm actually going to post that in the chat right now. We will send out, so if you're already on our marketing email list, you will get one more reminder for Friday's stream, and then after that, we will not be sending out any YouTube channel reminders on our main email list. So if you want to get the email notifications, you have to sign up on the actual YouTube notifications group, and you can do that by hitting the link here. List for YT videos. Right there. And you can also go on our website. At the very bottom under community links, you'll see get YouTube notifications, and you just put your email in there, and then it will add you into a group in our marketing system that says, I want to get YouTube notifications. So we will send out emails a half hour before the stream starts, and if we post a new video, we'll also send out an email with a link to the new video as well. So the email you'll get about the streams that are upcoming will give you the time, the date, and there's a link to the stream in the email. So hopefully that helps. Our viewers, our live viewers on the Atom Stack stream were a lot higher than normal. This one we pushed over 120 viewers, I think. I saw maybe. Oh wait, hang on. YouTube tells me this. Where's my YouTube control panel? I think I closed the page. Anyways, appreciate you guys stopping by. I hope you guys learned something. And as always, happy printing. I'll see you guys on the next stream, which will be Friday at 5 o'clock Central Time. Take it easy now. Wait! I almost forgot the treats. And I just bought him new ones. Oh. You see the little ears poking up? You see the little ears poking up? There it is. He's over here. I almost forgot. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Come here. Come here. You got to do stuff for it. You got to sit. And we got to shake. Good boy. And we got to touch. Yeah. Good boy. There's a good Remo. There we go. All right. Now I can roll. Take it easy, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will see you on Friday.